Alrighty, think we're going. AFO with my boys Adam and Jackson. I don't know if you can see them.
What's up? I'm driving, so I'm not gonna have a video until I park.
Yeah, pray for my boy Jackson. Hopefully he doesn't crash or anything. We'll be by the time this ends, he'll be home. But
he's a pretty good driver, I would assume. Anyway, I mean,
hey, it's a new car and everything. I gotta keep her safe.
Extra careful. But today we're just going to be going over the Packers' schedule and just go over each and every game. And Adam is the resident Packers fan for us and our group, so he will know all the ins and outs of the team. And me and Jackson are just going to go off of what we know. So, Adam, take it away a little bit.
Hey, appreciate it. I guess we could just start off with the first game of the season, which is the Green Bay Packers playing against the Minnesota Vikings first off. And, you know, I believe that game is in Lambeau. So, first game of the season. Actually, it's in Minnesota.
It's in Minnesota.
Yep. Green Bay hasn't been doing very well in Minnesota, but I believe that the Packers can and will come out with a W there. You get a little shaky in the first game of the season, but at the same time, once you get that running game going, I think you'll be able to do all right. Being able with the Vikings losing Xavier Rhodes like that, it builds up a question: who's going to cover Devontae Adams? Right. You know, that's where you got to start off with Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers to start off. So with the running game and being able to be able to use play action off of it, I believe that the Packers will be able to win it. Plus the defense, if it plays decent enough to get Aaron Rodgers a couple like a turnovers or a couple stops, I think Green Bay will be able to win that one.
All right, yeah. I agree with that. All right, go ahead, Jackson.
Oh, my bad. Going based off of that, I really, really like Aaron Jones. He's a 3-down back right there. Even with the depth at running back that Green Bay has, I don't see the Vikings stopping him, especially since they lost Everson Griffin. So all they got right now is Danielle Hunter and maybe one other. I can't think of them right now.
Well, that was the biggest thing for me anyway, was being that pass rush going against the O-line. Since we lost Brian Bulaga to the Chargers, you know, the question mark with new free agent acquisition Rick Wagner is he going to be able to come in and play as well as Bulaga can? Personally, I don't think he'll be able to be such a anchor at right tackle as Bulaga can be, but I mean, we picked up Jared Bell here from off the streets, and he was able to play well. So I think personally he can plug and play. And with the departure of Everson Griffin, that puts a lot of strain on those linebackers to be able to tackle Aaron Jones. And once Aaron Jones gets tired, you got Jamal Williams and second-round pick A.J. Dillon that come in and wear those boys out. So defensively, it's all about covering the receivers. You know, the new acquisition with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen is always the top two guys that we have to try to be able to stop. So I think to be able to stop Dalvin Cook and those two guys, I think Green Bay will be able to come out with it.
Yeah, my thoughts are the same. I feel like I agree with all that. You know, you got to stop Dalvin Cook. You got to stop Adam Thielen. But the thing is, Adam Thielen, how is he going to do without Stephon Diggs being his backside, like being the number one? And, you know, Thielen was the slot or the number two. How's that going to go into play? He's going to have to be the number one. He's going to be the most targeted now. So my thing is, I feel like it'll be up to, and Kyle Rudolph's getting up in age too. He's a good tight end. He's not great. He's like a safety blanket. But how's Justin Jefferson going to do when it comes to being the number two and having to take the pressure off Adam Thielen? That's a big key for whoever the second corner is for the Packers. Is it Jair Alexander or is he the one? Can't remember.
He's the one. It'll be Kevin King at the two.
Kevin King.
Actually.
There you go.
King was inconsistent, but against the Vikings, he was able to play well. I don't know if you guys remember, but week 2 in Lambeau, Kevin King picked off Kirk Cousins in the end zone to seal it. So, I mean, it's basically going to be off on him. Hopefully Josh Jackson can finally step up and be that number 3 guy, but It just depends. The Packers didn't re-sign Tramon Williams, so that veteran presence there isn't quite there yet. But I think with this young core of guys, we should be able to be fine. Another thing is, Mike Pettine's had a whole offseason with Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith being able to move those guys around, Rashawn Gary as well, to build stunts for those guys against this weak Vikings O-line that they've yet to really do anything with. They really haven't done much. So I think personally, it'll be a tough win, but I think Green Bay will be able to pull it out.
Oh yeah, same here.
Yeah, and just like y'all said, that wide receiving core is going to be basically the decision maker for if the Vikings win. I think Green Bay can do it because I believe in Josh Jackson. I know this is a little bit off topic, but in Madden, he's a really damn good corner. But I like the overhead of Savage at free safety. That he can be a savage, just like his name states.
I hope so.
Very true. Very true.
And you have Amos at strong safety. I think I think personally, that secondary can prove itself if it really wants to.
You got to remember, Kirk Cousins chokes. He chokes sometimes. Choke one time. Aaron Rodgers will take that down the field. Take it down the field and score.
And that's another thing as well, talking about offense. We're going pretty in-depth with this, but the Vikings have a new OC. Kevin Stefanski's now the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, so there's no longer that. It's a new offense. So there may be, hopefully, a couple miscommunications on the Vikings' part that Green Bay could take advantage of. So, like I said, go Pack, go, and I think Packers go 1-0 first game of the season.
Yep, same here.
You like that.
Oh, I like that.
Same here.
Anyways, second game of the season, we got Detroit Lions at Green Bay Packers. We have back-to-back division games, and they drafted Jeff Okudah at third overall so that they could third overall so I would assume either him or Desmond Trufant would be covering Devontae Adams. And in this game, I feel like this is where the run game has to take control. They have to be able to control the clock and be able to gain yardage on first and second down, so it makes it easier for Aaron Rodgers or for Aaron Jones to get that first down. That's one thing about the Packers wide receiver cores. They got to step up. MVS, Jake Kumro, these guys got to play a part. And Alan Lazard is basically our number 2. He's the guy who has the job to lose. We got Devin Funchess, but it's Alan Lazard's job right now. So I think personally, Green Bay beat them twice last time. First time in Lambeau was a little bit sketchy, but hey, we'll take the dub. But I'm not trying to be biased, but I think the Packers will win again in Lambeau. First game in Lambeau, that game's going to be loud. The crowd's going to be in it, and I think Aaron Rodgers will be able to pull out some magic and win it for him.
Mm-hmm. All right, go ahead, Jack.
All right. Personally, I don't believe in the Lions. Matthew Stafford, he's washed up. He's a has-been. Either that or he's the only thing that's even remotely close to being good in the Lions.
True.
The way that they run the ball, I haven't seen another 100-yard rusher besides Kerryon Johnson. They had Abdullah for a while. I don't know if they still have him, but
he's on the Vikings now.
Yeah, he is not anywhere. Their running game has not been the same since Barry Sanders retired.
But they did draft DeAndre Swift out of Georgia.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Georgia.
Yeah, I forgot about.
It was regarded as the number 1 running back in the draft, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to tell, especially in the NFC North, and that's the hard thing about the Packers is, you can never tell with the run game. Obviously, San Francisco both times didn't help us out any, and Dalvin Cook can still get 100 and something yards, and we can still win. So, personally, I think the Lions' offense will have to really impress for them to be able to pull out a W.
Yeah, they really have to impress me. I'm going Green Bay with the win.
Yeah,
that
yeah. I
keep it
got
up.
Green Bay. I think it'll be close early on, probably. Because Stafford's got Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones. That's two dudes right there, and T.J. Hawkinson. But in the end, I mean, Green Bay is a little too much. They'll get a few stops, and I think they'll coast away in the second half. First game at Lambeau, so yeah, I got a dub for that one.
All right, so we got Packers 2-0. So now we get to the prime time Sunday night football. We got the Packers against the Saints in New Orleans.
Ooh.
And this is a toss-up for me, boys. This is a toss-up for me. As I've watched the Packers throughout my life, Aaron Rodgers hasn't been doing very well in the Dome. The last time the Packers were in the Dome, Aaron Rodgers was having his calf issues, and it was still a 28-42 victory for the Saints. So, for me, personally, I think the Saints will win it in the Dome. They have that advantage. Drew Brees coming back. They have Emmanuel Sanders and Michael Thomas. I just think it'll be a close one, but I think the Saints will pull out the W against my Green Bay Packers. And I know, Jackson, I know you're happy to hear that, but
Yeah.
I think Packers will start out 2-1.
First off, I gotta stay with who dat. No, I think the Saints are gonna come out with this as well. It's not because I'm a Saints fan, but I just really see the Saints being a dominant powerhouse team that everybody has to beat. It's their game to lose. Their defense has been firing off all cylinders. They're coming off of a pretty disappointing loss against the 49ers, but it was by a big play by Kittle, and Kittle's one of the best tight ends in the league.
Talk about a disappointing loss. Losing to the Vikings in the wild card, man, that's a disappointing loss.
Yeah.
But, I mean, my thing is, if you look at the Saints defense and who they've added, bringing back Malcolm Jenkins, I mean, it just adds that veteran presence and all that. I just, personally, I think it'll be too tough. They'll put pressure on, Green Bay's wide receivers, and I don't know if they'll be able to take advantage of it. I mean, Marshawn Lattimore will be probably following Devontae Adams wherever he goes. Whether it's in the slot, outside, he'll probably be following him the entire time. I just think with Sean Payton's creativity when it comes to play call, I think he'll probably have played Mike Pettine's defense before, and he'll probably bring back some of those old plays, and will make Green Bay look silly a little bit.
All right, well,
I believe their biggest way they're going to beat the Saints is by their secondary. Like you said, Adam, Marshawn's going to be all over Devontae. It's going to be Lattimore versus Adams all night long. With Malcolm being at the free safety and Marcus Williams being at the strong safety, it actually frees up Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to move down to corner and help us out, because right now I'm not sold on Janoris Jenkins. I'm also not sold on P.J. Williams. Like, none of these guys
how long I'm going to be on, Mom?
They are third to fourth caliber.
What was she saying?
And we are definitely going to need Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to step up as that number 2.
Oh, I'll fix it later.
Definitely.
All right. Well, I guess I'll go. I'm the unbiased one here for a Saints-Packers game. I feel like the Saints are probably going to win it, since it's it's in New Orleans, in the Dome. I just feel like you got Alvin Kamara back there, and Michael Thomas obviously, and the Saints did lose Larry Warford on the O-line, but at the same time I feel like they drafted, what was his name, Eric McCoy. They drafted him to play center, guard, whatever. So they filled his spot pretty.
Cesar Ruiz that's my dude. I was so happy that the Saints picked him. It was a weird pick because they were thinking wide receiver or something like that. But I think Cesar Ruiz is a monster, and I think he'll be on that Saints O-line for a long time. Hey!
How are you?
What's my thing?
Hey,
it's my mom.
Shout out to Mama Foster. Woo!
Yeah, that's my mom. That's my mom right there. She thinks the
Hey,
Saints
that's
will
what
win,
we're
I
all
think.
about. We're all about family. We're all about love. That's what it's all about. And Cesar Ruiz will be head up against Kenny Clark. He'll be that nose tackle, and I don't know if Ruiz will win that matchup, but at the same time, that's a welcome to the NFL moment, and I'm sure he'll learn a lot.
They'll contain it.
From
I
that,
think.
From that matchup.
If I'm being honest, I think they'll contain it. I just couldn't remember his name, but I feel like the Saints will get it. They match up pretty well defensively as well, and I think they'll just get the stops they need. It'll be a close game, I think, and I think the Saints might pull it away at the end, kind of like maybe it'll be like a 10-point victory where they score at the end or something like that, and it'll make it seem out of range. So I got the Saints winning.
All right. So week 4, we got another NFC South matchup. We got the Falcons. I believe it's at Green Bay. It is at Green Bay. It's Monday Night Football. Packers get a long week to be able to prepare for Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, and the new addition Todd Gurley. Welcome back to Georgia. But they're playing in Green Bay at Lambeau Field. I just think, if we are able to contain Julio and be able to stop Todd Gurley's running game, I think we'll be able to pull that out. Atlanta had a lot of injuries last year, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure it's all about the run game. It's all about the run game. They lost to Devondre Campbell, and Deion Jones is still solid in the middle. He's a great linebacker, but even he can make some mistakes. If you look back at that Cardinals game, he still made a couple mistakes last year. I just think Matt LaFleur will be able to game plan around that defense and be able to take advantage of it. So I think Green Bay will probably win that one. I would say probably a 14-point win in that game.
Yeah. I personally, I don't like the Falcons.
No shit.
And for the sake of the video, I will be a Falcons fan for right now. I've never been sold on the Falcons. I just haven't. The Saints have been beating them up twice a year, almost every single year. Matt Ryan, he hasn't shown the Matt Ryan he used to be. Julio is Julio. He's always going off. Like, he's top 3 wide receiver easily in the league.
Oh, yeah.
Deion Jones, yes, he's really, really fast, great in coverage, but like you said, he does make those mistakes. But with Todd Gurley, from what I've been reading, they said that they don't know the condition on his knee.
That's very true.
Know how well he's going to be coming back from the knee problems. Like, I just see Todd Gurley being an average running back at best. Maybe that's why they got him, so they can run him with, what is it, Devontae Freeman? Or is it the other one?
It might be Ito Smith. I think Devontae Freeman's still on the...
I think it's Ito Smith. No, Devontae Freeman's gone, I think. They got Gurley and I think Ito Smith. And what's his name left? Who was the guy that...
Actually. He is a free agent. Yeah, Devontae Freeman he's a free agent. So I believe it's Ito Smith and Todd Gurley as the 1-2 punch.
Yeah. I mean, Ito Smith hasn't really proved himself. I mean, he's been behind 3 running backs for I don't know how long, but
that's true.
Who knows? He might pop off and take Gurley's spot from him. I know they lost Hooper, and that was a big time tight end loss.
Yeah. They lost. They lost Hooper.
Then Keanu needs to be actually healthy, like one of their best defensive backs, and he was hurt for half of last year, maybe even more.
Try it.
I honestly couldn't tell you. Calvin
What'd
Ridley.
Say to do?
That's who you're referring to. I don't know if you said that. My bad.
For real?
No, Keanu Neal.
Keanu Neal. Oh yeah. I mean,
I'll test it out later.
I don't know why I said that. I honestly have no clue.
Okay.
But
I'll do it later.
Keanu Neal. I think he's a strong, solid spot at safety. I think he's an above-average player.
Yeah.
Definitely lays the boom for sure. I think the Falcons lost Vic Beasley, but they added
Yep.
Dante Fowler Jr. from the Rams. So, I mean, you know, that pass rush could still be there, but at the same time,
Yeah, I'm on mute now.
I just don't think the defense could be able to handle Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, in my opinion. It might be a little biased from me, but that's about it. They did lose Austin Hooper. They traded for Hayden Hurst, which is kind of up in the air. Hayden Hurst, former baseball player, he's actually up in age. I believe he is 27.
He's already 26, 27.
Yeah, so I mean, age doesn't really play a factor, but at the same time, you know, it can. He does have injury issues, and obviously he was drafted in the first round along with Lamar Jackson, and lost his job to Mark Andrews. So, you know, it's kind of up in the air on, you know, whether or not he'll be able to take that tight end role by the horns and be able to succeed. But overall, I think Green Bay will come out with W there.
Yep, Green Bay W.
All right, well, pretty simple answer for me, Green Bay. I just think the Falcons, you know, Matt Ryan's getting up in age, and he actually had a really, really good season last year. But that team he's on, man, it's just, I can't see outside of Julio, and, you know, they've got Todd Gurley, but Todd Gurley's not the same since he's had that arthritis in his knee, those issues in his knee. They just aren't the same to me, and I think the Packers can easily, you know, they get 1, 2, 3 stops in a row easily. Beginning of the game, Aaron Rodgers can fire freaking bombs down the field, and they can take an easy, like, 21-0 lead. Just in my opinion, that defense, you know, like you said, they lost Vic Beasley. I think they lost Desmond Trufant to the Lions, too, if I remember right. And so, I don't know if y'all mentioned that, because my mom was making a little bit of an appearance up here, so I was paying attention over there, but that's besides the point. But, you know, the defense is kind of like, even if they're average, you know, who knows what'll happen, but I just see the Packers wiping them away, to put it simply. I just don't see that. As long as they can stop Julio and Matt Ryan, then, you know, get to Matt Ryan, they'll be fine, and I have the Packers winning. Keep it short and simple.
Usually those teams that may have a winning record but always miss the play. So to me, it's kind of up in the air. They did get Alabama to go up, but young players are often not able to actually make it. Still got to get to me, I mean, Clemson got a little bit exposed by Joe Burrow and LSU in that national championship game. So I think if Matt LaFleur, anybody on that offensive staff looks at that Clemson game and get film on Terrell, I think they'll be able to make 10 points and be able to take advantage of his
Is our connection good? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I was just making sure. It felt like our connection was getting a little messed up somewhat.
Yeah,
Can Jackson hear?
Yeah, if you want. You want to talk about the Falcons again?
Oh, no. I thought y'all were moved on to week 4. My bad.
Oh.
We are week 4, but we can go to week 5 if you like.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So we had them. We all had a win. We all had a win there.
So.
Oh, yeah. I have Green Bay winning against the Falcons, if that's what y'all waiting on me for.
No, we weren't waiting on you at all.
No, I thought I had connection issues.
Okay, yeah. I could barely hear in the car. I'm actually about to be home, so I'll get set up and actually turn on my camera.
Sweet.
I
don't know what's going on with the scheduling. You know, week 1 and 2, we had NFC North division rivals, and then the next 3 weeks, we have 3 straight NFC South matchups versus Green Bay. So week 5, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that Sunday at 3:25. It's in Tampa Bay. So, you know, to me, Tampa Bay has been the Cleveland Browns of 2020. The Cleveland Browns of 2019 were so hyped with all, everything. They have Mike Evans, they have Chris Godwin. That's a 1-2 punch. Who do they have behind him, though? They don't really have anybody behind them. So, the biggest problem with that matchup is, Mike Evans is such a physically dominant, specimen. 6'5", 225. He's a monster. You can't deny that, whether you're a Saints fan, Packers fan, Titans fan, doesn't matter. He's a physical dominant force, and then they add Gronk to the equation. I assume Gronk's going to come back to playing weight. I don't think he'll be very much lighter, maybe but 5-10 pounds lighter, maybe. But I mean, he's had all this quarantine and all this offseason to bulk up. If you know anything about the Gronkowski family, they do themselves up. Overall, Gronk is a great tight end, probably the best tight end of his era. Hopefully that doesn't translate. I hope he has a great career, but I hope that doesn't translate against Green Bay. Overall, I think it's going to be a tough matchup, and this is a toss-up for me. Tom Brady coming into a new system, his first system outside of Josh McDaniel. Bill Belichick there in New England. Bruce Arians' offense, look at the history of it. The first year, always the first year with a new quarterback, his interceptions are going to be a little bit higher than normal. Bruce loves to go deep down the field. He loves that zone run aspect and take shots. So I wouldn't be surprised if we add a little bit of pressure off the outside. They added just the work to the right tackle position. But besides that, that's good. That's good. And that's about it. For that offensive line. That's the key matchup for that offense versus that defense, is that Green Bay is able to add pressure. Tom Brady's seen everything under the sun, so he probably would be able to guys, but at the same time, you never know with these guys. I think it'll be close, but I think either one can win, but I just have to give it to my Packers. I think it'll be less of a touchdown scoring game. I wouldn't be surprised if they surprise the game winner for winner. So I have to go Green Bay with them.
Okay.
Yeah, going based off the Buccaneers, I think about the only person that I liked on the Patriots team, on that Patriots dynasty team, was Gronkowski. But with a combination of Brady and Gronk, that is a matchup altogether that is worth looking at. I think Tom Brady is going to do great. He's going to take Tampa Bay. He's going to actually give them a winning record instead of having Jameis Winston lead them to interceptions after interceptions.
Gross.
I got to be careful what I say about Winston now because he's on our team now.
True.
But I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will make a playoff run. Winning against the Packers, I really don't know. I'm gonna say the Packers win off a missed field goal by whoever their kicker is, by whoever Tampa Bay's kicker is, and then Crosby goes down and hits a 55-yarder.
Pretty specific right there.
Okay.
Tampa Bay has been having kicking issues, but
Hey, we'll clip that. We'll clip that.
It's gonna be close. It's gonna be real close.
That's my only problem is, the big question is who's going to cover O.J. Howard and who's going to cover Gronkowski. We have the new additions with Kamal Martin out of Minnesota, the 5th-round pick, who I'm very high on. I'm probably the highest on him more than anybody in the draft that we picked so far. Shed a little tear for that one. But that's the biggest question for me is who is going to line up against Gronk and who's going to line up against O.J. Howard. Because we know Jair's probably going to go with Mike Evans, which is going to be a tough matchup because Jair's 5'11", Mike Evans is 6'5", and Tom Brady's probably going to be lofting it up to Mike Evans to take a little bit of advantage of that.
Yeah.
That's going to be the big question for me. Who's going to cover Gronkowski?
All right. Well, y'all both had the Packers winning that one. Whew. All right, so I'm with Adam on this. I think the Buccaneers are not. They're just overhyped. like, oh, they got Brady and Gronk and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and you know, my feelings are they did have a good draft in my opinion. I know they had Antoine Woodfield Jr. Feel like he's going to be a pretty good playmaker for him in the secondary. But outside of him, I mean, they had the number one run defense in the NFL last year with I think it was Vita Vea as their DT, and who's the linebacker? Can't think of his name. But their linebacking core is pretty good. Don't they have Quan Alexander and the other dude?
Quan Alexander now is with the 49ers, and we got They got Devin White.
Devin White, yes. Okay, yeah. Quan Alexander, yeah. He was on the 49ers. Okay, I'm thinking of someone else. I can't remember his name, but anyways, I just feel like they're overhyped. They are the Browns of 2020. Brady, you know, he fell off a little bit last year. I mean, you can kind of just tell if he's not in a rhythm and if he's not showing, if his O-line's not showing consistency, if he doesn't have a solid run game behind him and you put the game on his shoulders as of the end of last year, he just didn't show it. To me, he didn't show a lot. But, you know, he's still Tom Brady. He can still do the checkdowns, read the defenses, and all that game plan around that, and still keep the game competitive, obviously. My feelings are, you know, I feel like the Packers are going to – it'll be a tight game, and then I just feel like Crosby – I've always loved Crosby. Ever since I started watching football, I've always loved him, and I think he can go down and kick a clutch field goal after Aaron Rodgers just leads him down the field for a game-winning drive. Packers with a dub.
All right, so there's 6 weeks. We got the Packers at 4-2, 5-1 actually, 5-1. Just kidding.
I actually have one quick thing to say. If I'm the Buccaneers, the only way I see them winning is if they utilize O.J. Howard in that slot position. So if they go 3 wide receiver sets, like y'all said, the wide receiver core is not that great outside of Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. You utilize that O.J. Howard in that slot with Gronk on the line and then Evans on Chris Godwin on the outside.
I agree, definitely. I mean, honestly, how could you not? I mean, how could you not use all 4 of those guys on one offensive set? I mean, it would go strictly against everything Bruce Arians does as a coach. So, I mean, I can see the Packers dropping this one, but at the same time, you could see anybody drop any game against anybody. I mean, in all honesty, that's what's so great about the NFL and about the game of football is the fact that anybody could win no matter what their record is, no matter who they have. It's the greatest game of all games, in my opinion.
Yes.
But for 6 weeks, Packers 5-1. The biggest thing with the Packers,
5 or 4-1.
The biggest thing with the Packers, you know, they proved it last year, is they proved how to win against everybody except for the 49ers. They proved how to win in different ways every single time. You know, they did go 13-3, were argued as the worst 13-3 team in the league, but they still won 13 games last year with arguably the same amount of guys that they have this year. So that's the biggest question here, is if they're able to replicate what they were able to do last year, which I think personally they can. They didn't lose a lot of people. You know, Matt LaFleur actually probably didn't reach much into the playbook as much as he wanted to, since it was a first-year system.
Yep.
So to me, that's why I think the Packers can pull out a W against anybody.
Exactly. So
moving on to the next game, we got the Packers at Houston. And to me, you know, Deshaun Watson's a great quarterback. I think he's the future for Houston, unless he doesn't want to be there anymore, which is 100% understandable. I mean, obviously the biggest move in the offseason was a DeAndre Hopkins trade to the Cardinals for basically nothing. So Will Fuller is forced into that role to be the number 1, which he has injury issues. So to me, I think the Packers can blow this game open. Aaron Rodgers has played well in Houston. I'll never forget the game where the Packers blew out the Texans. It was a couple years ago. They blew out the Texans 42-20. Aaron Rodgers had 5 touchdowns that game. But I think Packers could win it, in my opinion. I think defensively, I mean, the biggest thing is we got to stop We got to stop, Deshaun Watson from making plays, but that O-line is still iffy. They got Laramie Tunsil, but besides that, who else do they have? I can't really think of anything, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I can't either.
Well, they did get, I have to say, I'm a Titans fan, obviously. So as y'all know on my channel, so Texans are my arch rivals, our arch rivals, I should say. They did lose DeAndre Hopkins. That was the dumbest thing ever. We call him in Tennessee, we call him Push Hopkins because he would always push off, and that's easily debatable. Push Hopkins. But they did get Randall Cobb, and they did get they traded with the Rams for Brandon Cooks. So they have Brandon Cooks, Randall Cobb, and what's his name? Kenny Stills. So they do have 3 fast twitch receivers. Kenny Stills probably the slot because he's the oldest one, I think. And Brandon Cooks he's still pretty good, and he was just a second or third fiddle in L.A. pretty much. So we'll see how he does, how his chemistry is with Deshaun Watson. But I think the Packers should win this. The Texans they were at the top of the hierarchy. They had their chance. They've won the last 2 years division title winners. I'm pretty sure, and they had their chance to blow it open. Lost every time in the divisional round, or they just can't make it past the divisional. So Deshaun Watson's obviously a great QB. He'll keep him in the game as always. He's a superstar, but I feel like the Packers can keep him away. The Texans defense is not what it used to be. J.J. Watt's not what he used to be. They don't have Clowney. Well, they didn't have him last year, but they don't have Clowney. Whitney Merciless, he's getting up there in age. I can't. Benardrick McKinney, he's more of a run stuffing linebacker. Packers ain't really going to try to run the ball too much. The play action game with Matt LaFleur, he can easily get them off track right there of McKinney and Cunningham on defense. And I just don't think the Texans have the firepower to stick with the Packers. So I got the Packers in a win here.
Yeah, going based off what y'all said, I agree with y'all. That DeAndre Hopkins trade was terrible, just flat out terrible. Why are you going to trade away a wide receiver that has 5 drops within the past 3 years for a running back that was a has-been? David Johnson is not the running back that everybody thought he was, the fantasy monster in Arizona, the superstar, the face of Arizona, basically. He is nowhere near his caliber like he was at Arizona, and there's just no changing it. No matter what system he goes into, no matter what quarterback he has, I just don't see David Johnson being any big of an impact as DeAndre Hopkins was. They did replace it with Brandon Cooks and what was the other, Randall Cobb, and I like both of them. Brandon Cooks, a former Saint, I loved him. Whenever he played for us, I loved watching him at the Rams. He's a small, quick receiver, very, very hard to cover. Randall Cobb was actually one of my favorite wide receivers, besides Jordy Nelson, with I forgot what it was, the big 3, Donald Driver, Jordy Nelson, and Randall Cobb.
It was Greg Jennings.
Greg Jennings, yep.
That's the one, Greg Jennings.
I mean, there used to be a big 4. Well, actually, it used to be a big 3 back in the Super Bowl days. It was Donald Driver, Jordy Nelson, and Greg Jennings back in the heyday.
That wide receiver core, him going to the Texans, I think will benefit him. With DeAndre Hopkins, that playmaker mentality, he can get out the pocket, make a play if he needs to.
Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, this didn't transition well, but makes sense.
Watson.
I mean, hey, look, like Cobb who was Cobb's QB last year? Dak Prescott. Come on,
he had a good year though.
He's look, Dak Prescott. He's not worth $40 million. He's not worth $30 million. He's still an average to above average QB. But you give him Deshaun Watson, he can probably pop off, like you're saying.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with both of y'all. I'm going to go Green Bay with this win by a big margin.
I think either this game or the game against Jacksonville, I think those two games will be one of those games where we pop off and we show that we're really bringing something to the table here.
Yep.
But besides that, I mean, if you guys are ready, we can move on to another Minnesota matchup.
All right. So I have them at 5-1 right now.
We got Packers at 6-1 right now. No, 5-1. You're right.
5-1, yeah. They had a bye week, early bye week.
I'm going ahead. I'm sorry. My bad. We got Minnesota at Green Bay. It's November, so there's a possible chance of snow. You never know with Wisconsin, especially next to Green Bay. You never know with that weather. But at the same time, I think it reflects back to what we talked about week one. I mean, obviously there will be different things going at it, but I think there'll be some emergence, hopefully in the wide receiver core that could take off Devontae Adams Devontae Adams a little bit less off his shoulders. Obviously we're going to be running the ball a crap ton. I mean, that's what our scheme is all about, running the ball. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the game Aaron Jones pops off, or he had 4 touchdowns against the Cowboys last year. Cowboys were said to have this great defense, and Aaron Jones goes off, scores 4 touchdowns. So I think it'll be the same thing. It may be a little bit more marginal a victory for Green Bay. It was a close game last time. It'll probably be a close game again. You can never tell with the Vikings and the Packers. But I'll probably go Green Bay again. Might be a little biased here, but I got to say Green Bay again.
Yeah, I mean, we're all pretty optimistic and high on the Packers right now, but, we've obviously had a few toss-up 50-50 games, and we're just leaning on, Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest QBs of all time. At least that's what I'm doing. So, I feel like it's hard to beat a team twice in your division twice. Especially as a Titans fan, I know that, with the Jaguars, the Jaguars suck every year. Even last year they sucked, and we still went 1-1 against them. So this one, it's at Lambeau. Man, I don't know. It's a tough one, but I honestly feel like they could sweep. They could sweep the Vikings. I just don't think the Vikings will be as good as they were last year if they lean on Dalvin Cook. And Dalvin Cook's had an injury history, so this late into the season, what if he gets hurt and they have to lean on Amir Abdullah or whoever their backup running back is now? Kirk Cousins, I don't trust him to carry the team like I do Aaron Rodgers. And, if Dalvin Cook's hurt or if he's not hurt, take out Dalvin Cook out of that offense, and Stephon Diggs is already gone in Buffalo. I feel like the Packers can get this one. So, I don't know. We got a lot of games where it's 50-50, and this is another one for me. But I got the Packers winning this one too and going to 6-1, I believe.
Yep, 6-1 on the season. I think this will be the game like the Detroit game last year where the refs might help us out a little bit, and then Mason Crosby goes and kicks that winner as we end it. I think that'll be probably that game. If I had to assume one game, it would be.
Okay.
All right, and coming here, what's up?
What's up?
Okay, we see you. Yes.
Yep, I am back. I am out of the road. Actually had a cop follow me for a little bit, so.
Oh, yeah. Get the curfew going on, I think.
It's all good. I'm a safe driver. No, I agree with y'all. Green Bay, it is hard to beat a team twice in a row in the division. I know that from watching it from experience. Tampa Bay actually beat us, I think, once last year. But I do think that Green Bay is going to come out and beat them twice. I'm not sold on the Vikings. It all depends on what Dalvin Cook is doing. He's a very good running back. And if he's starting to show himself like he did last year, popping off at about 100 yards a game, and I think it's going to be really tough. But I think Kenny Clark can stop him and keep him at bay. So, yeah, I say Green Bay again.
See, now, the game that was in Lambeau last year, Dalvin Cook did have over 100 yards rushing, and they still ended up losing. It was close, but at the same time, they still lost.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, as long as we don't let Dalvin Cook run all over us, I still think if we contain him somewhat, I think that we'll be able to pull out that W.
Yep, I got you. So we all got them as dubs. All dubs for the Packers here.
So, all right.
Oh,
Next
yeah.
game.
Quick question. So, did y'all want to split this up? We're at the 8th game of the season. Did you want to split this up in one video and do another one?
We
Or,
can.
because I'm thinking, honestly, I'm recording this one. And I know I'm live right now, but I'm recording this one instead of live streaming it. So I'm thinking next time we should live stream it so we can do the whole thing and it goes straight to YouTube instead of on my laptop. So
That
we can
sounds good.
we can split this into 2 videos. So I'll just have to quickly go out and then start a new one. That's all.
That's cool. Sounds good to me.
All
Yeah,
right. So
sounds good.
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, it actually gives me time to get everything situated.
Oh yeah, yeah. You go ahead with the other game. I think we're on. This is the 8th game. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're at 7-1 right now. No, 7, 8, 6-1. This is
6-1. This
yeah,
is
the
the
8th
8th
game
game.
coming up is what's next.
Oh God, the 49ers.
That'll be a game we'll drop. In my opinion. Let me sit up there.
All right, go ahead, Adam. Give us your take.
All right, well, we played the 49ers in San Francisco twice last year. Definitely did not go the way we wanted it to. You know, we were blowing out the first game. You know, coming into the NFC Championship, we thought we had them this time. Turns out we didn't. Not even close. Jimmy Garoppolo threw like 12 passes. Didn't even need to do anything. I'm hoping that we can contain that rushing attack somewhat. Kyle Shanahan is probably one of my favorite play callers in the entire league. Dude's innovative. His offense is I mean, he gets it from his dad, but at the same time, he's made it his own. You know, as much as I love my Packers, the 49ers, in my opinion, are such a good team. I just think that the Packers will probably lose this one. So I think Packers will probably drop this one, sadly. But besides that, I hope that we can contain it somewhat, make it some sort of a close game.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest factor for me is how we're going to be able to stop that run. Stop that run game and stop the play action passes off of it. You know, it all starts with the linebackers. Hopefully Christian Kirksey and Kamal Martin can be able to come in and try to stop that somewhat. But overall, I think it'll be a whole team effort. But in the end, I think the Packers will probably lose this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. The 49ers are a very powerful team. They got Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know who they got in the draft.
Their first round pick.
They got Javon Kinlaw for their, what was that? Yeah, their first overall pick, or first round pick, sorry. I can't really say much about the 49ers. Don't really know them. I kind of called the whole Jimmy Garoppolo trade. Little fun fact, I was actually at college and a 49er scout actually came by and I started talking to him. I was like, man, y'all got to get a quarterback. And then a week later, they traded for Jimmy Garoppolo. So, yeah, I'm going to have to say this is going to be a 49er win. I don't see Green Bay. Their running game's way too good. Garoppolo coming out of a Patriot offense is really good. Kittle is really good.
Oh.
And I don't see Kirksey covering him. I don't see Savage covering him.
He's a mismatch. He really is.
Yeah,
for anyone.
Yes.
But they got Javon Kinlaw to replace DeForest Buckner. Obviously, he was traded to the Colts for that first round pick. And then they got Brandon Ayuk out of Arizona State with that 26th pick.
Big body receiver.
Big body receiver, which to me, I mean, I wasn't high on him, but in all honesty, I haven't seen very much film about him. So, I mean, obviously he had a great season, 98 receptions, 1,192 receiving yards in 2019, which was 5th in Arizona State single season history. 11 touchdowns. So Kyle Shanahan, he'll find a way to get that man the ball. And he was known as a guy that was being able to make plays after the catch. So I think it'll be a tough game, especially late in the season whenever Kyle Shanahan has some film on Mike Pettine's defense. And obviously, those last 2 games, last year obviously helps. But it's a tough one, boys. It'll be a tough one to lose. So, but we'll drop that one for sure.
Yeah.
Well, not for sure, but
yeah, exactly. But I mean, yeah, I'll have to agree. Honestly, I have to say it's an easy San Francisco win. They got all the weapons. Like you said, Ayuk, he's replacing essentially Emmanuel Sanders. And they got what's his name? Who's a little receiver? Crap, I can't remember his name. He was good.
he's good.
What's his
They
name?
also got Debo Samuel.
Debo Samuel. There you go.
I don't know if they have Marquise Goodwin still.
Debo Samuel. I think they still have him.
I think they still do, yeah.
But I mean, hey, that don't matter. They have George Kittle. They have a good running game. You got Raheem Mostert. You got I can't even remember the running backs. This is how I know that I got to look some of this stuff up. But either way, they got so many weapons. They replaced DeForest Buckner, like you said, with Javon Kinlaw. They retained basically everyone in their secondary. They still got Richard Sherman, even though he's getting up there in age. They still got him, Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead. The guy from Stanford. I can't remember his name, but he's they got a loaded D line. And that opens things up for their linebackers. You get Fred Warner and Quan Alexander back there. It opens things up for them to make tackles. I just can't see that. Like, I can see the Packers keeping close early, but I don't know. I just feel like the 49ers probably get an easy win here. So
the only thing I can say about the 49ers is, they had the number 1 defense last year, which history shows that the team with the number 1 defense last year will not have the same defense they did the next year. They were also very, very healthy. They didn't have a lot of injuries. And obviously with football, that probably won't happen again. Of course, I want these guys to have such a healthy career, but with a game like this, it's very hard for it to stay that way. So I think the defense will dip a little bit, but at the same time, they're still a phenomenal defense.
Yeah, and I was looking at their roster, and no, they don't have Goodwin or Godwin.
He's on the Eagles now.
Yeah, but they do have Jalen Hurd, the running back from Tennessee that was converted to a wide receiver. And they also, it's a little fun fact, they have Juwan Jennings.
How did I forget that? Both Tennessee guys. Both Tennessee Vols guys. But, yeah. Jalen Hurd, he played, I think, the first 3 games last year, I think, and then he got on IR. So this will essentially be his first full season coming back, if I remember right. But yeah, I mean, I got them at 6-2 right now. I think we all do, midway through the season.
Yeah, which is fine with me. I'll take 6-2 all day.
That's good. That's good. That's definitely at the top of the NFC North. So, I'd have to look at the other schedules, the Lions, the Vikings, and the Bears. But I can easily say probably the Packers are going to be at the top of the NFC North at this time in the midseason, pretty simply.
And I mean, I agree with that. And I try not to be as biased as I can with my predictions. It's just I try to take it, from an open mind standpoint. But it is obviously super hard to predict NFL games, just due to the skill level. People might not always realize that, but all these guys are so good. No matter if they're 4th on the depth chart or if they're obviously there are guys that are above and beyond everybody else. But at the same time, you talk about depth players. Some of these guys are just as good as the guys opposite of them. But with that being said, we'll move on to week 9, right? Yeah, week 9. Well, not week 9, but 9th game.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end this video right here and start a new one real quick.
All right.
And all right, we're starting.
There we go.
Let me make sure it's still recording. Okay, there we go. All right. Scooted back, bro.
Well, you want me to start it off again?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. We'll go Jacksonville. We got Jacksonville at Green Bay. And to me, guys, I mean, Jacksonville, they obviously lost all their defensive key starters for that 2016 Jacksonville Jaguars defense. I think they'll be one of the bottom teams this year. I love Gardner Minshew. Loved him at Washington State. I mean, the man's iconic, but I mean, it'll be hard for him to make a play against this Green Bay offense. I think we'll put pressure on him. I think Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith will be all over him. That offensive line is a question. They got Andrew Norwell at left guard, but besides that, they don't really have anybody.
Yep.
I mean, they obviously have some good draft picks, but they don't end up playing good for their team. I'm trying to figure out who did they pick.
They picked C.J. Henderson out of Florida.
Yep.
Chase Young, and then Laviska Shenault. Those are their three.
Okay.
I love that pick with Shenault. I think I wanted the Packers to get him so bad. He was my top guy for that draft. But I mean, one thing about receivers, if you want them to do well, you got to get it to them, though. So
yep.
I think with Minshew, he doesn't have the greatest arm. I mean, of course, you don't have to, but it sure does help. I mean, offensively, I think we'll be able to run the rock. Obviously, they lost Calais Campbell.
Yep.
They lost Calais Campbell.
They lost Boye and Ramsey.
Ramsey, obviously, and it'll be hard for this Jacksonville team to play in Lambeau. I think it'll be like the Raiders game last year. I think this will probably be the game where the Packers pop off, probably score 42 points this game. I just think the Packers will probably win this one pretty handily here.
Yeah, I think the Packers will handle it very easily. I don't see the Jaguars even showing a chance. Leonard Fournette coming from LSU, that was actually a prime example of what you said, the way they don't play, the draft picks that don't play. I mean, Fournette's had his time in the NFL, but if he's not going to show anything now, I don't think he's going to show anything at all.
He's on that downward spiral.
He is on the downward spiral.
He needs a change of scenery. That's all he needs.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
I don't know. It depends on if that team is a power run scheme, because I think he will benefit in a hand it to him and lower your shoulder, get about 2 yards a carry. That Chase Young pick, I like a lot. They do need an edge rusher, and Chase Young is a very good edge rusher. He can stop the run. Mm-hmm. I do like the Shenault pick. He's a very big body wide receiver. They've been saying he has the physical traits of Megatron. And I think they do, but he's going to have to show the skill. And with Minshew throwing in the ball, he might show us something, but I think it's going to be later on in his year. So it's Green Bay win on this one.
And the offensive coordinator for Jacksonville is actually Jay Gruden, who, obviously is John Gruden's brother, who does run a power West Coast scheme. So it's obviously the quick passes underneath and the deep shots down the field on top of that power run game. So that may benefit Leonard Fournette, but at the same time, that offensive line is that question there. To me, that'll probably be the biggest factor for that offense against that defense, is how that offensive line will shake up.
All right, well, you got your Titans fan here. The Jaguars, obviously, an enemy of us. We can't ever seem to shake off one or just both games. We always happen to somehow lose one. I don't know how. But I think the Packers should easily win this. Like we were saying, they lost Jalen Ramsey, lost A.J. Boye. They lost, Telvin Smith. He didn't play last year. He hasn't retired, but he left for a year, and he's having his troubles outside of football. They lost Calais Campbell. Now they do have Josh Allen and Chase On from LSU, and that's going to be a good duo at edge rusher. But you just contain them. Aaron Rodgers can easily pick apart that defense. Joe Schobert, I like the guy when he was at Cleveland. He's not an elite linebacker, but he's pretty good, but he won't do anything. Not in Jacksonville, I'm sorry. And then, you got DJ Chark and Chenault at receiver. Maybe Minshew can do his little Minshew mania and run around the pocket for 20 seconds and throw it up to one of them. I just don't see him. If you're going to compare it, it's really going to be Minshew versus Aaron Rodgers because it's going to be the battle of the offenses. And if the Jaguars want a chance at winning, they're going to have to do a shootout. I just can't see him doing that. And Fournette's frustrated there. Is he going to hold out, or is he going to play the best of his ability this year in a team that he's frustrated in, or that's not even built around him? I don't see it, and so the Jaguars are going to be one of the worst teams in the league. Might be a little biased as a Titans fan, but I think that's what's going to happen. Green Bay, easy win here.
I mean, going back to the line, who knows if Yannick Ngakoue is even going to play for him? I mean, he's having contract troubles, and who knows if he's even going to stay in Jacksonville before the season starts. So, I mean, I don't really play him into a factor because you don't know if he's going to play. But I agree with you all on the Green Bay win there.
Yep.
So next up, I think this is probably our trap game here. We got Green Bay against Indianapolis in Indianapolis. Ooh. I think Indianapolis is a good team. I think they'll be a good team. I just, there's always that one game that, you're not very sure about. And I have the Packers probably dropping this one. The question, they have a great offensive line. The Colts do, and their defense has been well enough for them to succeed. And they were able to get a veteran in Phillip Rivers, was able to, you pair him up with an offensive mind and Frank Wright coming from that Doug Peterson, Andy Reid coaching tree. I feel like he'll be able to find a way to win. To me, it'll depend on Darius Leonard and that defense to see if they could stop Aaron Rodgers in that offense. And, the addition of Xavier Rhodes, maybe, Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers could help out in how to take advantage of, his tendencies. So to me, it's a tough one, but I think this will be our trap game and the Packers will probably drop this one.
Yeah. I actually don't remember. Oh, okay. It was the former Jaguars linebacker. Wait, no. There was a linebacker that was arrested this offseason. I think his last name was Leonard. I don't know if it was Darius Leonard or another Leonard. It might have been the Lions linebacker.
You might be thinking of Gerard Davis.
Gerard Davis, that's the one. It was the Lions linebacker. Yeah, I like Darius Leonard.
He's a good player.
Stuck out to me is he's a really good linebacker. Bobby Okikari, or I don't know how to say his last name, but I think he's a good LB2. I watched a little bit of him, mainly for fantasy football. They do have DeForest Buckner at defensive tackle. That is a huge upgrade. He was a all-star in that well-crowded 49ers defensive line. You have Justin Houston. He's a bit old, but still, he's a solid veteran presence on the outside. But yeah, it is a trap game, I think, because you look at Jacoby Brissett and what he did whenever Andrew Luck retired and how he did in that offense. You plug and play a veteran like Phillip Rivers that is way better than Jacoby Brissett. I think it's going to be a definite team to look for. But I'm going to have to say Green Bay win, but it's going to be probably by 2 points.
Oh, okay. All right, so, here we go again. Colts. Honestly, I think as a Titans fan in the AFC South, it's going to be between us and the Colts. Now, it just really all depends on how does Phillip Rivers end up playing. How does he play? Can he live up to that level that he's been at? And, he was on a crappy Chargers team. So who knows if he was held back because of that team or if he was just been trashed. Because he did lead the league in interceptions last year. So part of me, as a biased
I
Titans,
think Jameis Winston got that. I think Jameis Winston led the league in interceptions that
or
year.
no, Jameis Winston obviously led the league. I'm just saying Phillip Rivers threw a ton. That's probably what I meant to say. He threw a ton. He had one game, I think, against the Steelers with Duck Hodges. They lost that game, I think, and he threw like 4 picks. And but that's besides the point. But it really, in my opinion, depends on how he plays, because they do have one of the best O lines in the league. Marlon Mack's pretty good. They got Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin, as Adam would know. They drafted they have T.Y. Hilton, and they have, who's the receiver? Michael Pittman out of USC. Is that his name, Michael Pittman?
Junior.
Yep. They got him out of USC. So they've got the weapons around him, around Phillip Rivers. It's just, is he sliding back, or was that because he was on a crappy team last year? Who knows? But that's the key. And so obviously later in the season, when the season comes around and we'll see how the games are going, we'll see if Phillip Rivers is actually living up to the potential, or if they put in Jacoby Brissett. You never know what'll happen. But that defense is shaping out to be pretty well. They're building a good team in Indianapolis. Sadly, I don't want to say it, but they are. So this game, I really feel like the Packers can get something out of it. I don't want to be biased and say the Packers just because it's the Colts, but I do feel like Aaron Rodgers put him up against Phillip Rivers. Is this at Indianapolis or Lambeau?
It is at Indianapolis.
At Indianapolis. Okay, so that's going to be a little bit tougher. I feel like Aaron Rodgers, you put him up against. Give me Aaron Rodgers over Phillip Rivers. I can trust Aaron Rodgers more if it's in a close game. Phillip Rivers, he has that ugly sidearm. He has like 20 kids. I think he's just going to choke it away somehow, and Aaron Rodgers will lead him to victory. That's what I think. But
going to the Chargers team, I think like the Chargers had one of the best teams all around Phillip Rivers. So him going to the Colts might show the fact that the reason why the Chargers were underperforming might be because of Phillip Rivers. Because if you look at that defense is super nice with Derwin James, the best secondary in the league.
Hayward,
Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram, the linebackers, Denzel Perryman, and the others are kind of iffy. But if you look at the offensive side of the ball, I mean, obviously they didn't have an offensive line to really protect him, but they had Melvin Gordon, Austin Eckler,
Keenan Allen,
Michael Williams, Keenan Allen, to Hunter Henry, exactly. I just think that, this might show that Phillip Rivers might be the reason why that Chargers team was so underperforming. Of course, they drafted a rookie quarterback, Justin Herbert, and Justin Herbert may start in 8 games. I wouldn't be surprised due to Tyrod Taylor's play in Cleveland and what happened with Baker Mayfield. So, that depends. But, you did have a very good point about him being a gunslinger, with him throwing major interceptions. I mean, he's been at the top of the league in interceptions a couple seasons for, a couple times in his career. I just think that's probably what boils down to it is how Phillip Rivers will play with this Colts team.
Yep.
So, I guess on to the next game. I guess majority rules. So I guess we have the Packers winning this one. It's the majority rules.
Yeah, I'm just trying not to be biased.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. But next game we got, I believe it is another Sunday night football game. Chicago at Green Bay. And to me, guys, I mean, Chicago has a great defense, but at the same time, it's Sunday night football at Green Bay. It's all about the quarterbacks. If you look at it this way, Mitchell Trubisky, this is his make or break year, in all honesty, because they declined his 5th-year option. He didn't play great last year. Didn't do horrible, but didn't play fantastic to where the Bears are like, oh, sweet, we got a franchise guy. Which, for a Packers fan, we love having Mr. Trubisky as the Bears quarterback. Because, I mean, why wouldn't you?
I don't know. You got to worry about Nick Foles now.
That's the other question. Is Nick Foles coming in and playing for the Bears at this point late in the season? We're 12 games in and well, no, we're not 12 games in, actually. We are 10 games in. We're 10 games in.
10 games.
And, you know, Nick Foles might be playing for the Packers at this point. But to me, personally, I don't know if I'd rather have Nick Foles than Mitchell Trubisky. Because, I mean, if you look at him in Jacksonville, he played 4 games for Jacksonville and didn't play hot, didn't play great, you know, saying, you know, he did get injured, but he did come back and still lost his job to Gardner Minshew, a 6th-round pick, again, you know? So, to me, I think it's, you know, pick your poison, you know? Either you got cyanide or you got, you know, I don't know, burning at the stake isn't much of a poison, but it'll sure kill you. So, I mean, I think with this being at Lambeau, if the defense, I think the defense will dip a little bit, but I think Green Bay will pull out this one against the Bears.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I think this Chicago Bear game is going to be pretty close, but just because it's in Lambeau, I think Green Bay is going to come out on top. Trubisky, ever since that, I watched him a little bit, and ever since last year, I haven't been impressed. He was not the quarterback that he used to be coming out. Yes, he was a running back whenever he was, what was he, in high school running back or college running back?
He was a quarterback in college.
Oh, he's quarterback in college, and yeah, he was a running back in high school. So he has that running mentality on him. He can run, but I don't think it's going to be enough. David Montgomery, I think he's a great young running back, but once again, Kenny Clark. I don't see him getting past him. And then the wide receiver core, I don't see a name that sticks out to me. Their best wide receiver right now is the tight end that they drafted in the 1st round. And other than that, I don't see anybody else standing out. You got Allen Robertson, which
he's all right.
Yeah. And then Ted Ginn coming in from the Saints. He's a really fast wide receiver, but no amount of this veteran presence is going to help him.
He's old. He's old.
Yeah, he's old as well. He might even lose some speed, and that's what he had to offer was speed.
Mm-hmm. Anthony Miller's all right.
Yeah, Anthony Miller is all right. But I think Riley Reed is the one that's going to have to start showing up. Calvin Ridley's Riley Ridley. Sorry.
Riley Reed. Oh.
Riley Ridley.
We're gonna nope.
All right, we're gonna edit that part out.
So there's no editing. I don't know what you're talking about.
Nah, we'll be good. We'll be good.
No, Riley Ridley is the young person that I want to show out in this Chicago Bear wide receiving core. I want him to be talked about as much as his brother.
What?
That's because he's on the Falcons.
No, forget Calvin Ridley. It's all about Riley.
He went to Georgia. What kind of LSU fan are you? I mean, I guess it's better than Alabama, but I mean,
yeah. Everybody hates Alabama. Everybody hates Alabama.
Sorry, Alabama fans, but go Tigers.
Yup. All right, so yeah, y'all both have the Packers winning this one pretty easily.
Yes.
All right, yeah. Yeah, well, I'll agree with y'all. Mitch Trubisky's not. I don't know what happened to him last year. The year before, he did okay, led him to the playoffs. And then he had double doink happen, and, you know, they should have won that, honestly. But double doink happened, and, you know, something happened to him last year. He just played like garbage. You know, and now it's either going to be him or Nick Foles, and to me, that don't matter. Either way, I still feel the Packers will probably win this. It's at Lambeau, and the Packers should win this. For some reason, I feel like it might be closer than expected. Packers should pull away, give me Aaron Rodgers over Foles or Trubisky, or, you know, if they have to switch them in between the game, I don't really care. I feel like Aaron Jones will pop off because, you know, you got Khalil Mack coming off the edge right there and Roquan Smith hovering in the middle. So maybe Aaron Rodgers may not be a big factor in the game. You know, Aaron Jones will probably pop off. You know, do little swing passes or halfback screens, and him and A.J. Dillon or Jamal Williams might, you know, they might pop off for a little bit. Packers Not an easy win, but pretty doable win.
Last year, the Packers, whenever they played in Lambeau, the Packers won 21-13. So it was a one-possession game. But like I said, NFL games, you're going to have close games no matter what.
Right.
It depends. But I'd say Green Bay for this one.
Yep, we got a dub here.
So going on the next game, we got the Philadelphia Eagles at the Green Bay Packers. It's going to be in Lambeau.
Right.
Green Bay played the Eagles last year in Green Bay, and it was that was our first loss of the season. It was a very, very, very close game. Came down to the wire, and we ended up not just pulling it out. So to me, besides the addition of Darius Slay, which is that's a massive upgrade for the Eagles. Massive upgrade. The Eagles are probably one of the most depth teams in the league. But the thing is that comes to me is, is Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson going to be able to come and play like they were before? They did add Jalen Reagor, who is a fantastic prospect, was one of my favorite receivers coming out of the draft. But, you add Carson Wentz, those weapons. I think it'll be a close one. I think it really will be. But I got to lean towards my Packers a little bit. It might be another Mason Crosby last-second kick to win it, or it might be a game touchdown winning. I can't talk. It might be a game-winning touchdown. So who knows?
I was that last game, or the last game that we were talking about as far as talking. Riley Reed.
It's all good though. I think Packers will probably win out with a field goal or a game-winning touchdown or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the Green Bay Packers are going to win it. Judging by their draft, it was not good. I did not like it at all. That Jalen Reagor pick, they might see something in Reagor that I don't. But you have Jordan Jefferson still on the board. You have Laviska Shenault still on the board. You have all these wide receivers still on the board. You go with Jalen Reagor. Jalen Reagor is a second-round to third-round wide receiver, in my opinion. He was talked about going in the first, but I just don't think it was a good pick for him. But the Jalen Hurts pick, I do kind of like. I think what they're going to do with him is a more like Taysom Hill for the Saints. They're going to start adding him into these trick plays, give Carson Wentz a break maybe once in a while, some distraction maybe. I think they're going to utilize him as that gadget player that maybe line up at tight end, wide receiver, running back. Running backs, I like their running game. Boston Scott's a really small, elusive, fast running back. He can come in the passing situations. Miles Sanders, of course, guy behind Saquon Barkley. Of course, he was overshadowed at Penn State, but still, once Barkley went off, it was his show to run. JJ Arcega.
Arcega Whiteside.
Yeah. I don't like him. I really don't. He was so hyped coming out of the draft, and what is he doing? But yeah. Oh, and look at that, Marquise Goodwin. He makes an appearance because we were talking about him earlier, and then of course Deshaun goes back to his old team.
Don't forget Aguilar. Or wait, is Aguilar on the Eagles?
He's on the Raiders. He's on the Raiders.
He's on the Raiders. I had a feeling he moved somewhere. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, Aguilar's on the Raiders now.
Unupdated. Of course, you got Zach Ertz at tight end.
Right.
And Dallas Carter behind him too.
No matter how bad of a year he's going, he has that capability of popping off. But yeah, I see Green Bay taking it easily. I'm not sold.
Oh,
easily, okay. All right, so honestly, I think Carson Wentz had no help last year towards the end of the year, and he still pretty much led the team to the playoffs.
He was the only quarterback in history to throw for 4,000 yards without a major wide receiver threat.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Carson Wentz is one of those elite QBs, and people undervalue him in a way. They really forget, like when Nick Foles led them to the Super Bowl, to win the Super Bowl, Carson Wentz set all that up, and I think he could have done the same thing. And I like Carson Wentz. I like Miles Sanders. He was doing really, really well at the end of last year, and that's when they lost all their receivers, and so teams were really loading the box in the run game and daring Wentz to beat them. Because that all they had was Arcega-Whiteside, and they had Greg Ward, and he was a quarterback in college. That's all they had as their receivers. And, he still led them to the playoffs. Like you said, Darius Slay. They still got Derek Barnett. I can't remember the other guy's name, but they still have a pretty good pass rush. And honestly, I just have a feeling the Eagles will pull this one out somehow. A big X factor, in my opinion, will probably be it had to be Boston Scott and Miles Sanders coming out of the backfield. Can the Packers guard them? And Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey are old. Are the receivers going to get hurt again? Are they going to get unlucky and all get hurt again? If that happens, Packers win. But we can't predict the future, obviously. So as of now, I'm not going to say I'd take Wentz over Aaron Rodgers, obviously, because I'll rarely ever do that for Rodgers, but this late in the season at Lambeau, I think they somehow sneak it out. The Eagles get the dub here.
And going back to Carson Wentz's record, he's the only quarterback in NFL. He's the first quarterback in NFL history to ever throw for 4,000 yards and not have a single wide receiver with 500 yards receiving. He's also the first Eagles quarterback to ever throw for 4,000 yards, which I personally didn't know.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
I didn't would be able to throw for 4,000 yards, but I can see the game going both ways. I mean, obviously the Eagles came to Lambeau last year and still won it, against Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. So, for me, either way, the game could go, but I just got to lean towards the Packers here. So.
Yeah, and I also forgot to mention Zach Ertz, obviously, and Dallas Goedert. That's another big matchup. Can Green Bay's linebackers and safeties guard them? Can they do that? We'll see. Because he's a check down blanket. Zach Ertz is the new age Jason Witten. He is a check down blanket for Carson Wentz, or who knows, Jalen Hurts might be able to do something. Who knows? But like I said, got the Eagles winning this one.
Yeah,
I think that. Go ahead.
I was just noticed this, but Green Bay has a lot of tight ends to deal with.
That was partially what I was actually going to say. I think that Week 5 game against the Buccaneers and O.J. Howard and Gronkowski will play a part in how well the Packers will go against two good tight ends. One great, one good. Two solid tight ends, I think that'll play the part. If Green Bay can handle Gronkowski and O.J. Howard, I don't see how they can't handle Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. But if they can't, then we might have an issue going down the stretch if we play the Eagles. But majority, again, Green Bay winning over the Eagles. Right now, they're 10-2. Which isn't far off of what they were having before. So,
true. I can see Green Bay Packers sneaking into the Super Bowl if they get past my Saints.
Get past the Saints, the 49ers.
Okay.
No, but 10-2 right now. The next game we got is the Packers against the Lions in Detroit. And I'm not a big fan of having the Packers sweep the entire NFC North. It's just not realistic. So I guess you got to give the Packers a loss here, or maybe the game against Chicago. I'll go win against the Lions for the reasons that we said before. I just think that the defense just has to stop Aaron Rodgers in that run game and play action passes off of it, and then Matthew Stafford has to show something.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Golladay will have a good day. He had a good day last time he played the Packers played the Lions. But overall, I just think Packers are a better team.
I'm actually about to contradict myself, but I think on this week the Lions will actually take the win, only because I see that Week 2 matchup being a complete dominant Packer win, and then the Lions coming back for revenge on this week, and I think it's going to be Stafford versus Rodgers, and I think that the defense behind Stafford, is going to be the difference maker in the Lions win, but it's going to be close. I believe it's going to be close. I will go to say that maybe I would say about 5-point difference. If I had to be really specific, I'm going to get a 23-28 victory.
We're getting scores in here. All right.
Alrighty.
If it works, hey.
28-23. You want to make a bet on that now?
All right, let's do it right now.
All right. Anything else but 28-23, you'll lose. But I'm good. I'll take you $100 on that one.
Yeah, we'll come back. We'll come back to this later. Y'all come back and say,
Oh, yeah.
an hour into the show. But yeah, like Adam was saying earlier, one of these games they'll trip up, and I think they'll win this one against the Lions. But against the Bears, that's the last game of the season. Will they be resting their starters? And will they be trying that hard? Who knows? And so I feel like they might lose that one. But this one, I think they should win. Matthew Stafford, he might not be standing upright in this game. He might be hurt. He might be playing hurt. And, I love Matthew Stafford. He's a good QB. He just doesn't have a team around him. I'm sorry. So I can't see them beating the Packers. I just can't. They're a Midland team, below average team. And the Packers are on, they're probably going to be fighting for the 1, 2, or 3 seed, with the Saints and 49ers, and maybe even the Seahawks or something like that. So I can see the Packers playing, like, going all out, throwing all the cards out possibly, and LaFleur just calling a pretty good game plan, and Packers should easily win this one.
My biggest thing with this matchup is the first meeting is it's so up front in the season, and then this one being towards the back half or the back quarter in this case, they have so much time to game plan against each other. And so I think it will be a close game. I think this will be a closer game than the Week 2 matchup, just due to the fact of how long they've had to be able to game plan against each other. And, at the same time, they play each other twice a year, so, that definitely helps. But I think the Packers probably will come out with the win against this one. So, majority again, Packers will win this one. They'll go to 11-2 on this season. And then we got the Packers against the Panthers the next week, 5 days before Christmas. It'll be at Green Bay. And I don't know about this one. I really don't, because if you go back to the Panthers game last year with Kyle Allen at quarterback, the Packers almost lost.
Mm-hmm.
The Packers almost lost. It came down to the last play. Christian McCaffrey was just short. The Packers almost lost.
Lost me the fantasy game. I remember that.
Lost you a fantasy game.
But at the same time, Teddy B, he played well for the Saints whenever Drew Brees went down, and he'll probably have to be the factor going into this because, it's a new system. Matt Rule, rookie head coach. They got, what's his face from LSU? Joe Brady as the offensive coordinator, first time offensive coordinator, probably have a New Orleans Saints type offense. So he probably will look at that Saints film against the Packers and will be nitpicking it towards the end of the season. The only thing I have to say, though, it's in late December in Green Bay.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be snowing, and Aaron Rodgers loves to throw the ball in the snow. You go back to that Giants game. Giants are probably a worse team than the Panthers are, but go back to that Giants game. It was snowing like crazy, and Aaron Rodgers threw 4 touchdowns, boys. Like, it depends. But I got to go with Green Bay with this one, too. I think Green Bay will win this one. Personally, it'll be close, but I think they'll win by a touchdown. That's probably my score. Touchdown game.
Yeah. With the Panthers, like, that addition to Teddy Bridgewater is a huge get. Getting rid of Newton, a washed-up has-been, and replacing him with a new school,
Go ahead and tell him your nickname for Cam.
Scam Newton? You mean Scam Newton? No, they actually got some depth in quarterbacks. They got Will Greer and then PJ Walker, that
my boy,
XFL star.
Yeah, but Houston Wranglers running the run and shoot, boy. Yeah.
I think that, of course, that offense is going to revolve around Christian McCaffrey. Like, there's no way you hand it. You don't hand the ball.
Oh yeah.
Throwing it, passing it, or throwing it, running it, whatever. C-Mac's going to get it.
Yep.
Their draft pick, Derek Brown, is a very big addition. It's a very, very scary addition for a Saints fan. That is a very big presence down in the center. I do see him showing out his first year. I really do. Derek Brown is a very good defensive tackle. But as far as anything else, I'm trying to see if I find another name that sticks out. Eli Apple.
They just signed Eli Apple.
Yep.
Dante Jackson at LSU as well.
Deontay. I think Deontay Jackson's going to be, of course, they actually got Latrell Jamerson from Green Bay as well. But I don't know. I can see it going either way on this one. I think Teddy Bridgewater is going to have his time against that Green Bay secondary, especially with the wide receivers they got now. Curtis Samuel might pop off, but
they got Robbie Anderson. Don't forget that.
Oh yeah, read about Robbie Anderson. They got Robbie Anderson too.
He's speedster.
I don't know why Green Bay didn't sign him either.
Yeah. Green Bay was just avoiding every single wide receiver known to man.
Sad.
Apparently, they saw something in Jordan Love.
I hope it works out. It better. I swear, man, it better work out.
Mm-hmm.
They almost had a better job as the Philadelphia Eagles drafted.
Yeah, EDP was pretty. He was pretty mad, dude. He was pretty mad.
Yeah.
Our boy EDP 445.
So, with this game, it's really tough. That Anderson, I think that the difference maker is going to be the secondary, and I don't see Robbie going off with Jair Alexander all over him. So it's going to have to be a Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore. They have Keith Kirkwood, but I don't see him popping off like he did with the Saints. I say Green Bay.
The biggest key with that is Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore, and Robbie Anderson are all speed receivers, big fast guys. In Green Bay, they have mostly man corners that are not that fast. They're fast, but they're not elite fast cornerbacks. So I think it'll depend. My X factor for this game is how well Matt Rule develops in the NFL. And that Joe Brady offense. I mean, sure, he learned from the Saints, but you go to LSU and you pop off like that, you'll have some eyes on you no matter what. You'll have some eyes on you, and can he translate that from NFL talent now that he's the offensive coordinator? Can he translate from college talent to NFL talent? Sure, he's getting better guys, but he's also playing against better defenses. So to me, those coaches are the X factor for me, whether the Panthers win or not.
Yeah, especially that late in the season.
Exactly, definitely.
So I got to give my prediction. So
oh yeah, my bad.
Yeah. Well, one thing I think we haven't mentioned yet about Teddy Bridgewater is he's got experience playing against the Packers. Being on the Minnesota Vikings before. It's been a while, obviously, but man, it is a tough decision. Depends on how he meshes with the Panthers' offense, how he meshes with Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is obviously one of the best, if not the best, and I'll take him. Honestly, him and Derrick Henry are probably top two right now, and I could probably see him being the number one running back all around. So, if the Packers can stop McCaffrey, I really feel like that that puts their chances higher, way, way, way higher. Now, obviously, you can't stop them, so I feel like they just have to contain them. But it being in Lambeau and late in the season and possibly snowing, I can see them taking it away from the Panthers, and so I feel like they'll pull it out. I think they'll pull it out. It'll be close. They'll pull it out though.
Yeah, that all around comment. Yeah, you are the offense whenever you get 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving.
Oh yeah,
without a doubt. Yeah. So if you guys want to move on to the next game, we got Sunday Night Football. We got the Titans.
Oh no!
At Green Bay. Sunday Night Football. Titans at Green Bay.
Yep.
2 days after Christmas. And I'm going to go on a limb here, boys. I think the Packers lose.
Oh!
Interesting.
I think the Packers lose.
Interesting.
Oh, okay.
You got Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Obviously a force to be reckoned with. And Green Bay has had a history with the lack of stopping the run. Obviously, the biggest thing for the Titans, I think the biggest thing going into this season is how well Ryan Tannehill will play as the first full year as the Titans starting quarterback. He went 7-3, relieving Marcus Mariota, my guy. I hate that he left, but it's all good though. But he came 7-3, led the Titans to the AFC Championship, and he had to beat some teams in order to do that. Had to beat New England, of course, in New England, and then had to beat the number 1 seed Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. So, he's proven that he can play well. I mean, of course, Derrick Henry sure helps with that, but
yeah,
he can play. I mean, beside the fact, you still got to be the quarterback for that team, no matter what. You're the guy who has the ball in his hands every single play, every single down.
Yep.
You play on offense, he has the ball. But obviously with the snow, they're going to want to get Derrick Henry the ball. This might be a game where Derrick Henry gets it 30, 32, 34 times a game. So personally, I think if the Packers repeat what they did last year, I don't know if they're going to be able to stop Derrick Henry. I mean, of course, it has to be played both sides with offense and defense. But I think the Titans might force Aaron Rodgers to have to put the ball in his hands and throw it. And I mean, that help, that may help with Green Bay. But if none of our receivers step up, this late in the season, how are we gonna push the ball downfield against Kevin Byard, Adoree Jackson, and new addition Christian Fulton from LSU? I mean, how are we going to be able to do that if none of our guys step up besides Devontae? So, I'm gonna say Green Bay loses this one here.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. I say Titans win. The only reason why I say that, not the only reason, but a huge reason is because of Derrick Henry. I think Kenny Clark shuts down any other running back except for Derrick Henry. That just big, just hunk of meat just barreling to you, going who knows how fast. Like the dude has an insane amount of speed for somebody that big. I love watching Derrick Henry run, just stiff arms, trucks, cuts. He can do it all.
He doesn't actually even truck that much. It's all about that stiff
he just falls forward, dude, for like 4 or 5 yards of play. That's all it is, really.
Yeah, just 6'2", 6'3", sorry, 247. Whew, he's almost as big as some linebackers.
Bigger than me.
Linebackers.
Yeah. I think that wide receiver core is going to show out. Well, I think they're going to show out because they're going to be so focused on Derrick Henry. And you got somebody like A.J. Brown that popped off last year. You have the potential of Corey Davis. We haven't seen him pop off like he needs to. I think he does do it this year. What is this, his fourth year in the league? I think knowing that system now, he's going to be up to speed. Of course, the slot and Adam Humphries, he did really good at Tampa Bay. I don't see him doing any worse in Tennessee. I actually see him doing better. And then Jonnu Smith
Yep.
Tight end one. He's basically a running back at tight end.
Yeah, like
Beast.
they still have Delaney, don't they?
Nope.
Or did he retire?
Delaney's a free agent.
Oh, didn't know about that. But yeah, that Fulton pick, I see him playing more slot, mainly because he has that kind of, he can tackle if he needs to. And then I forgot who y'all's linebacker was. Oh yeah, y'all got Vic Beasley coming off the edge. He's going to be really
Jayon
good
Brown, Rashawn Evans.
Jayon Brown, that's the one I was looking for.
One of the best cover linebackers in the league.
Aaron Rodgers is going to have his work cut out for him with Jayon Brown in the middle. I really, truly believe that. And then, of course, the number one safety. What was it? Yeah, no.
That's Kevin Byard, right?
Kevin Byard, number one safety.
Boy, MTSU.
Yes, sir.
The funny thing is, what was it? No, it was Marcus Williams and Kevin Byard. The Titans almost drafted Marcus Williams until the Saints got him. And then, of course, since the Saints got him, they settled with Kevin Byard, and I think they got the better of two great players.
You think so?
It's pretty close. But, I mean, Byard, you know.
I think I would pay Kevin Byard as much money as he wanted, just like the Titans did.
He got signed last offseason, I think.
Yeah. I say, I'm going to go with Titans winning this one. It's going to be a Titan.
So, the NFL schedule came out a few months ago. You know, I'm a Titans fan, obviously. And I think in that was a quick prediction. I went over the games pretty fast. And I did pick the Packers to win. And I think my main reason was because it's late in the season. And it's in Lambeau. Sunday Night Football. And, you know, all the pressure and lights are on us. And I think I picked the Packers at that time. And, you know, I don't want to be biased, but I think I'm going to switch my prediction. Not even a month and a half later, I'm going to switch my prediction to the Titans to get this win. And, you know, it's in Lambeau. Like I said, that's the main reason why I picked them in my first predictions and my initial predictions after the schedule came out. But, you know, like what y'all are saying, I can see it happening to where maybe I'm gaining more knowledge about the Packers a little bit. And, you know, back in 2016, I remember we beat the living crap out of the Packers. That was with DeMarco Murray. Yeah, that was with DeMarco Murray and Delaney Walker throwing a touchdown pass, I'm pretty sure. If I remember right. No, it wasn't Delaney Walker. It was somebody else. But
Delaney Walker.
Yeah, that's what it was. But yeah, we whooped the Packers, so maybe we have. I wouldn't say we have Aaron Rodgers' number, but that gives some good signs. That was obviously 4 years ago. So I mean, like I said, you know, you got Derrick Henry, and if him and Tannehill are still meshing, they're the perfect complement to each other. Tannehill's perfectly built for our system with Arthur Smith, and you know, even if AJ Brown gets locked up by Jair Alexander, he's one of the best young receivers in the league. My opinion, he should have won Rookie of the Year last year over, I think it was Kyler Murray and even Josh Jacobs. But, you know, I love Kyler Murray too. But, you know, even if they get him locked up, Corey Davis, he's reliable. One of the best blocking receivers in the league as well. If you look up any Derrick Henry run or even A.J. Brown run after the catch, who's always down there with him? Corey Davis. I was thinking Jonnu Smith. You know, you got Jonnu Smith and Anthony Ferkser's an underrated tight end. You know, he's an underrated backup tight end. He's not a good blocker, but he's one of the best backup receiving tight ends in the league, and he could be a factor. Anthony Ferkser could be if you line up 5 wide, because we did that a lot last year for some reason with Tannehill. And, you know, our defense, like you said, you know, if we just lock up, I feel like if we lock up Devontae Adams, and then you put Jayon Brown on Aaron Jones. You know, if we lock them up, stop Aaron Rodgers, get to the quarterback, this obviously depends on Jadeveon Clowney as well if he comes and signs with us. If we get Jadeveon Clowney, I can see this as a win, but it's a toss-up for me, and my bias might be getting me here. But I'm going to say the Titans. I'm switching my prediction.
Man, pick the Titans to win it. I don't think you're any bias here.
I don't know, man. It's just I heard what y'all were saying, and it's gotten me thinking. And we still haven't signed Clowney yet. Maybe I thought we would have signed him a little bit after the draft, but I think the Titans got this. We're in for a special season. I think. I really think we are, and I think we can catch a dub here. So Titans with the dub.
I think the X factor with this game will be the running game. I think the running game, if Green Bay can stop Derrick Henry. My only thing is if you look back at the past 2 seasons, once it gets to Derek Sember, if you get what I'm saying here, Derek Sember, give it to Henry 30, 40 times a game, he'll win it for you. That's my problem. Whenever I see that this game is late in the season, I'm thinking Henry all the way, which sucks for us, but I think the Titans got this one. I think it'll be close because it's Green Bay. Of course, Aaron Rodgers can never count him out.
Right.
I think this win streak snaps for Green Bay here. But you guys want to move on here? We'll go to the last game of the season. Packers are 12-3 at this point. We clearly have won the NFC North. Let's say the 49ers and the Saints have already clinched their bye weeks. We're not going to get any higher. We're not going to win the bye week. So let's go ahead and start Jordan Love. Let's give him that one game to see what he's made of. And we go play the Bears in Chicago. And Chicago's trying to give us another loss on our record. Of course, it's Chicago, of course. So we want to see what the kid's made of. Kind of like what Kansas City did with Patrick Mahomes whenever they drafted him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they'll start the kid, and he'll come up short. I think Packers will probably lose this one end of the season 12-4.
Okay.
Going based off of that scenario, let's say, another team clinched the first and the second. I do see them losing if they start Jordan Love. I mean, maybe he pops off, and maybe Chicago's like, oh, we're already outside the playoffs. We're not really getting in. Maybe they are getting in, but they have like a clinched spot anyways. I don't see Jordan Love leading the pack and beating the Bears. I mean, if it's the other way around and Green Bay's fighting to get in the playoffs, or
they'll play Aaron Rodgers and they'll.
Oh yeah.
I think they should.
Okay.
They'll probably win that one.
Mm-hmm.
If they play Rodgers, but
if they play Rodgers, I would say if they play Rodgers, win. If they play Love, it's going to be a loss.
I mean, unless Jordan Love pulls a Matt Flynn back in like what was it, 07, 08 or something like that, or
not even that, man. 2011 throwing
2011.
427
I'm an idiot. Hold on.
6 touchdowns.
That felt so
Yeah.
long ago, dude. That's why I'm saying 07. But golly, unless he pulls that, I remember it was Matt Flynn against the Lions, right? He threw like 6 touchdowns, dude, or something. But unless Jordan Love does that, I can't see him doing that.
That game alone got Matt Flynn a contract with Seattle. That man made $15 million because of that game. And then he ended up coming to play for Green Bay when Aaron Rodgers broke his collarbone and ended up winning us a couple of games. But
the funny thing is, he was fighting with Russell Wilson to get the starting job. Like, nobody knew Russell Wilson. It's like,
I knew Russell Wilson.
Oh, I knew who Russell Wilson was because that first preseason game against the Titans, he was going off, and I was getting pissed. I'm like, how are we letting this guy do so good in the preseason? He was against our first stringers. Turns out Russell Wilson's one of the best QBs in the league. I just didn't realize it at the time.
One of the best QBs of his era right now.
Mm-hmm.
Run, pass.
Go Badgers.
Known for a runner.
So let's see.
Let's go.
Well, if I had to predict, I'm on the same lines with y'all. If it's Jordan Love, the rest of the starters, it'll probably be a loss. But if they're fighting for a spot, fighting for seating position, then they'll win. But I'm going to go and assume that they've locked up the NFC North, and the Saints and the 49ers have an edge on them. And I'm just gonna say they lose this one.
In this scenario, with them being 12-4, I mean, with 12-3 going into this, I think they'll sit Devontae Adams, they'll sit their starters, and let the kid play. So I think the Packers end on a 12-4 record, which is perfectly fine with me. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Matt LaFleur going 25-8, or not even that, 25-7 in his first 2 years. I mean,
and I would say a division win. I would say a division win too.
So, I mean, 12-4 Green Bay.
Yep.
I mean, to me, for this Green Bay team, the offensive key is obviously the wide receivers. These guys got to step up. MBS has to step up. Hopefully, Equinemius St. Brown can come off an injury and play well. I mean, he was a 7th-round draft pick, but I think he was drafted that low because he came out early. MBS, I hope he can come out and play well. Obviously Devontae Adams is our best receiver in the group. Not even a question. And I think Aaron Rodgers can help make these receivers be better than what they were portrayed as. And I think James Jones is a perfect example of that. James Jones left Green Bay, went to the Raiders, and lasted not even 2 seasons, was brought in by the Giants, didn't even make the team. And then Aaron Rodgers came in. He came back to Green Bay, and Aaron Rodgers, he had 12 touchdowns that year. That 2015 season. So,
yep.
I mean, I think Devin Funchess, being 6'6" and 230, I think he'll be that guy that Aaron Rodgers can get that ball to up high like he did with Jimmy Graham. I think Jay Sternberger, he's our tight end 1 now, and he's a receiving threat. I think he'll be able to take the reins off a tight end. But I think, wide receivers, man, those are the guys that are going to have to step up. And then defensively, it's that middle linebacker spot. Can Kamal Martin, the 5th-round pick, and Christian Kirksey take up that spot that Blake Martinez definitely left, a hole in, even when he was in Green Bay. And then also, nobody's really talking about Oren Brooks, who tore both his biceps last year before the season started. He's coming back as well. And I don't know why, but nobody is even talking about him. I mean, he may not even be on the team, actually. I might have to check that. But I think he still is because, I mean, he's not very old. But 12-4, yeah, he's on the Packers still. So 12-4 is totally fine with me. That's all I got to say about it. Go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go.
Alrighty. So, what did you have him at, Jackson?
Let's see. I had just about the same as y'all. I might have him at like 11-5 because I had one more loss than y'all.
I had him at 11-5 as well because I had him losing to the Eagles.
Yeah, I had him beating the Eagles and then losing to the Panthers. Or not Panthers. No, it wasn't the Panthers. It was Colts.
Colts, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Actually, I got to think about it. I didn't even keep my score, but as a whole, we were 12-4. So, win, loss, win, 3-1, 3-1, 3, 4-1, 5-1, 6-1, 6-2, 7-2. I had them losing against the Colts. That's 7-3, 8-3, 9-3, 10-3, 11-3, and then dropping the next 2, so 11-5 actually.
Oh, okay. So we all had 11-5.
But majority, as we were going through the games, we as a whole we did 12-4.
Yeah. I remember the other team that I said they would lose to was the Lions. It wasn't the Colts.
Right.
Yeah, it was the at Detroit game, not the at Green Bay game.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay, yeah, because Adam said they were going to lose to the Colts, and then we said, yeah, there you go. So I had them at 11-5 as well. Which is still pretty good. It's a drop back from last season, but like you were saying earlier, 13-3 that season. I remember they played the Chiefs, and the Chiefs, that's when Mahomes was out, and they just had a lot of games. I can't remember exactly which games, but they did have a few games where they got in terms of like injury problems or something like that. They kind of got not really lucky, but it's the cards you're dealt with, and that's why people are saying they were one of the worst 13-3 teams ever. But you play with the cards you're dealt with. So in relative to that, if you're going to play relative to what people are saying, it's still pretty good. It wins you the NFC North, in my opinion. I just don't think any of the teams can compete with them. Not the Bears for sure. The Lions definitely not. Maybe the Vikings, but you got to see they had 3 cornerbacks. I'm pretty sure go down or go to other teams, and then you had they don't have Stephon Diggs anymore. So I think they easily win the NFC North.
Yep. Well, all right. 12-4, boys. Well, 12-4 as a whole. 11-5 actually in between the 3 of us.
Yep. Just different games lost pretty much, but yeah, that'll do it. That's our Packers season predictions right here with resident guru Packers fan Adam leading the charge and presenting the team facts for us. And he influenced a prediction for me. I thought I had all of it mapped out until my team came along, believe it or not. Pretty good. So overall, Packers are going to do pretty well, and we're gonna end it right here. But thank you to Jackson and Adam for joining.
Of course, you'll see more of us soon.
Oh yeah, with everything, dude.
Next video.
All right, but we'll catch y'all later. AFO is out.